What's up everyone, I'm Dan and thanks to Lambsmith PR and East Asia Soft for the review code for Atomic Owl on the Nintendo Switch systems. Between its vibrant, neon-soaked world, chunky pixel visual art, and pounding synth soundtrack, Atomic Owl radiates that late 80s and early 90s retro futuristic energy. There's a heavy cyberpunk influence running throughout its world, but it's blended with traditional Japanese-inspired architecture and environments, giving the world a unique identity that stands out from many other indie side-scrollers. You play as Hidalgo, the last free Bladewing, who awakens after 2 years bound to an eternal tree with only a chaotic talking blade for company. The setup is dramatic and cheesy in that classic retro action game way. The story itself follows Hidalgo's quest to save his corrupted friends and stop the sinister Omega Wing, a Void Crow sorcerer poisoning the world with Meza corruption. While the story itself isn't particularly deep, it's presented with charm, helped along by some surprisingly enjoyable voice acting during story scenes. The performances occasionally feel a little rough around the edges, but they add personality to the cast and it fits the game's exaggerated tone nicely. The presentation is undoubtedly one of Atomic Owl's biggest strengths. The pixel art animation is expressive and full of life, with enemies, bosses and environments constantly bursting with colour and movement. Some areas glow with neon purples and blues, while others lean into fiery reds and industrial greys. The soundtrack helps to elevate this atmosphere. The hybrid mix of synthwave and JRPG inspired melodies keep the momentum high and complements the fast-paced action really well. Atomic Owl is a side-scrolling action platformer with roguelike elements. The important thing to know going in is that this is a very skill-dependent game. Despite having progression systems and upgrades, success still largely comes down to mastering movement, learning enemy placements and understanding boss patterns. If you die, you're sent back to the beginning and must attempt another run, although you do retain currency for permanent stat upgrades. Interestingly, the game also includes a mode that disables the roguelike structure entirely, allowing you to experience Atomic Owl more like a traditional side-scrolling action game. Honestly, this is a fantastic inclusion because the roguelike loop may divide players. Some will love the repeated practice and incremental mastery, while others may find restarting frustrating. What makes the roguelike structure unusual is that the levels themselves are not randomized. Enemy placements, platform layouts and environmental hazards remain fixed. The randomness instead comes from power-up drops during runs. You might find upgrades that grant health regeneration, additional jumps or a projectile reflection. During my first playthrough, I picked up an especially useful power-up that reflected enemy projectiles back at foes after striking them. Small boosts like this can dramatically improve a run, although because they disappear after death, they never overshadow player skill. Combat revolves around the Meta Blade and a collection of swappable weapons that each serve different purposes. The Tengu Killer Whip gives you safer range coverage, the Flattened Wing Hammer deals devastating heavy hits, while the Bladewing Buster Greatsword offers brutal close range damage. Hidalgo's Talking Demonic Blade also acts as an important ranged option and often becomes your lifeline during difficult boss encounters. Experimenting with weapons is enjoyable because different situations genuinely favour different approaches. Some bosses are easier to tackle with quick strikes, while others benefit from range chip damage. There's also a satisfying sense of weight behind the heavier weapons, even if their slower animations can sometimes leave you vulnerable. That said, Atomic Owl's biggest weakness is easily its controls and movement responsiveness. The game demands precision platforming and quick reactions, but movement can often feel twitchy and slightly unreliable. Inputs don't always seem to register correctly, especially during more demanding platforming sequences where timing matters most. This becomes particularly frustrating during high pressure moments where one missed dash or jump could snowball into a failed run. The platforming itself walks a strange line between rewarding and aggravating. When everything clicks, chaining dashes, glides and attacks together feels fantastic. You can absolutely enter a flow state as you memorize stages and enemy positions, but the stiffness in the controls means some deaths feel less like personal mistakes and more like games struggling to keep up with the precision it expects from the players. Boss battles highlight both the best and worst aspects of Atomic Owl. Visually, they're impressive and mechanically varied, often requiring multiple attempts to fully understand attack patterns and vulnerabilities. However, some weapons feel significantly less useful during these encounters, making experimentation occasionally frustrating rather than empowering. The Demonic Blade's ranged attacks often become the safest and most reliable strategy, especially when bosses leave very little room for error. Performance-wise, the game runs well overall, and players can choose between a capped 30 frames per second mode or an uncapped frame rate option depending on their preference. I played through on the Switch 2, so didn't experience any frame drops, but can't see that the Switch 1 would have any issues running this game well. The visual style also works wonderfully in handheld play, where the bold colours and sharp pixel art remain easy to appreciate. Atomic Owl is a fascinating mix of retro platforming, roguelike repetition, and stylish cyberpunk presentation. It doesn't always nail its ambitious gameplay ideas, and the fiddly controls can sometimes undermine the otherwise satisfying combat and traversal. Yet, despite those frustrations, there's still something undeniably compelling about its world, soundtrack, and skill-focused structure. Players who enjoy challenging action platformers and don't mind repeated runs will likely find a lot to appreciate here. Meanwhile, the addition of a non-roguelike mode makes the game far more approachable for those who simply want to enjoy the story, world, and combat without the constant restarts. Atomic Owl may not soar perfectly every time, but its striking presentation, memorable atmosphere, and rewarding sense of mastery ensure it still leaves a lasting impression. Atomic Owl is out now on the Nintendo eShop, priced at $11.99 in the UK and $12.99 in the US. Big thanks to you all for watching, hope you enjoyed the review, and until next time.